If you're new, subscribe. You don't want to miss this one. Today's case? Trust me, it gets dark. Let's get into it. There is a mysterious death investigation unfolding right now in New London, Missouri, that has slowly started seeping its way into the social media spotlight, and there's a lot at stake here. A local nurse was found dead in her home, and the person who called 911 to report her death was her husband, a local anesthesiologist. Now, he woke up and found her unconscious early in the morning. At least that's what he told police and her family. But her family says it is hard to believe his story because just months prior, he was convicted of strangling her. Yet her cause of death is unknown. In a matter of days, though, we may know the truth. Here's the death of 36-year-old Ally Mel. It was early Tuesday morning on June 23rd, 2026. Like early, Tricia Nunn noted the time as she was driving because it's 6:17 a.m. on the dot. Her dad called. What she told me was kind of unusual in and of itself, but extra odd at that time of the day. So, she answered, and his demeanor made the call even more strange. He sounded subdued, kind of tearful, which was very unlike him. And the words that came out of his mouth changed her life. He said, "Sis, I have some bad news. Allie's passed away." Now, Ally is Tricia's little sister by 2 years. So at 36 years old, there was no reason something should have happened to her. And Tricia just found herself kind of repeating, no. But at some point, she managed to ask her dad, what happened? And the truth was her dad didn't really know. He said he had just gotten a call from Allie's husband, Andrew Hummel, about a half hour prior, telling him that he'd woken up in the middle of the night and Ally was just gone. He thought Ally aspirated, and he said he'd try to save her, but couldn't. And when he called 911 and EMTs, they came, but they couldn't save her either. Now, that explanation only left Tricia and eventually her other little sister, and with a bajillion more questions. So, and ends up calling Andrew, too, and asked him for more details or more info, more anything to make this unbelievable thing make any sense. And she had the wherewithal to record the call. Here's what Andrew said. She had a sandwich right next to the bed. I think that's probably what she aspirated, but she vomited and was just too sedate to know and to have a gag reflex. I think that I woke up about an hour too late. That is what happened. If I could prevent it, I would have prevented it. If I could undo it, I would undo it. If I could take her place, I would take her place. Now, and did not record this call just to have proof for its own sake. She recorded it because from the jump, the sisters were extremely skeptical of Andrew's story. And they had good reason to be. Because for years, Ally had been sending her family and friends texts, pictures, even videos that documented severe physical abuse from Andrew. And just months before her death, Andrew had been convicted of strangling his wife. A year prior, in July of 2025, Tricia got a phone call from Ally. And as far as Tricia knew, Ally and Andrew were staying in St. Louis, which was about an hour and a half away from their home, because they were getting ready to fly out to Jamaica for Allie's birthday. So, she was kind of surprised her sister was calling. But Ally told her there had been an incident, and she was hoping she could come pick her up from the hotel. When Tricia got there, she noticed the hotel room was a mess. But not just a mess with things thrown all over the place. There was blood on the hotel bed. And that's not just her memory I'm relying on. That is corroborated in the police report and court records. According to those, officers have been called after other guests reported screaming and shouting coming from the room that Ally and Andrew were staying in. It was so bad that the people staying in the neighboring room specifically heard a woman screaming, "Get off me," over and over. So they went and reported it to the front desk. When police got there, they found Ally in the hotel lobby bathroom with a swollen lip. And she told them she and Andrew had gotten in an argument that escalated to him assaulting her and strangling her multiple times to the point where she said she couldn't breathe. That was enough to press charges against Andrew, who they found and arrested up in the hotel room. And he was slapped with 2 counts of second-degree domestic assault, which is a Class D felony. Now, when he was arrested, he had Allie's keys with him. So, Tricia and Ally had to go to the jail to get those. And Tricia told me they had this moment in her car that haunts her. She literally looked at her sister and said, "If you don't leave him, I'm going to bring you home in a body bag." So what are your burial preferences? And she said Ally kind of just laughed it off. But now here Trisha was 1 year later having to think about her sister's burial. Allie's reaction in the car might seem completely bizarre to some, but it's all too real for others who are hearing this because the reality of abuse and the cycle of it is far too common. And those trapped in the middle of it often can't see through it, which is why we think it is so important to tell these stories. You might think your story will turn out differently. The truly terrible endings only happen to other people. And Ally probably was thinking that exact same thing as she laughed it off, because the truth was it had been bad for a long time. And for a long time, she hadn't ended up in a body bag. You see, Ally met Andrew online in 2022, and this was at a super vulnerable time in her life. She was finalizing a divorce from her first husband after infidelity. And Trisha told me Ally just really wanted to feel loved and valued. She wanted to be treated like a princess. Ally, maybe even more than most. Trisha said Ally is the definition of a girly girl. She loves glam, pink, has a very vibrant, big personality. So she kind of lived for these big or lavish experiences. So much so, her niece actually called her Annie Bling Bling. So when she met charismatic Andrew, who was a doctor, it felt like a dream come true. And the first date he took Ally on was to the George Strait concert at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. That counts as pretty big and extravagant for a first date. And she told her family he really did treat her like a princess. They went on these big trips, these adventures together, all of which he could afford because of his steady and lucrative career as an anesthesiologist. But as the relationship progressed, Trisha and her whole family noticed Ally just wasn't coming around as much. She would already have plans with Andrew, or she just couldn't make it to family gatherings. It was noticeable, but not necessarily alarming. But because of that, they didn't really spend much time with Andrew. Except she did remember this one time at their little sister Anne's gender reveal that Andrew came, and then he actually got in an argument with the dad-to-be. They all thought that was odd, a little bit concerning, this anger that seemingly escalated out of nowhere. But just a couple months later, in the spring of 2023, Andrew and Ally got married. Seemingly out of nowhere, Trisha said, since she doesn't even remember an engagement being announced. After their nuptials is really when the picture-perfect image of this blissful married life started fading away. Trisha noticed Ally was wearing a lot more long-sleeve clothing, like all the time, even on the warm and muggy Missouri days. Eventually, Ally started opening up as to why. Trisha told me that the end of 2023 into 2024 is when Ally started sharing these instances of Andrew allegedly assaulting her, namely choking her or strangling her. And Trisha's family has given us permission to share pictures of Ally that she sent to them, just in case. You can see the black eyes, her swollen face, hair pulled out, the marks on her cheeks, and her nose. Trisha said their whole family wanted her to leave him. But as the domestic abuse cycle goes, Ally would tell her family he apologized. He said he loved her, that he would change until the next time the same exact thing happened. Ally told her family she didn't want to report things because she didn't want to hurt Andrew or have anything cost him his job. And her job as a nurse, however, was its own mysterious saga to her family. Trisha said that Ally changed hospitals she was working at multiple times, reportedly, because people would start asking questions about her bruising and her injuries, and Andrew didn't want those questions. According to what Trisha said, Ally confided in her. At the time of her death, they don't actually know if she was still working. Now, those pictures of abuse escalated to videos that she sent her family and friends. Trisha told me Andrew had installed Nest video cameras inside their home. Ally had access to the camera and those video clips that were stored on them. So, she started sending her family and friends clips at the end of 2024 into 2025. Literally, their Christmas tree is still up in these clips, which is such a juxtaposition for what's captured in them. A warning that the following video image and sound is disturbing. This first one is a shot from right by their front door. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Help. 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 That ain't at all how it works, is it? That's Kelly. That's a Kelly move. Are you a Kelly? What? Rest. No, please. Don't hurt me. Don't. You want to jump on me, baby? You want to ruin this time? You want to fight another one? You want me to have to go fight a new one? Okay. Leave and never come back. Okay, if you're leaving, never come back. I just don't want to be her. She sent her family and friends another clip where Andrew appears to confront her about other guys. It's the same living room setting in front of the Christmas tree with their dog running around, seemingly trying to figure out what is going on. Except this time, Ally is pinned down by her much larger husband on what appears to be a beanbag chair. Just be honest. Just be honest with me. Get off. Just be honest. Where's? I can't even talk. Get the off. These are just small snippets from longer clips shared with us from her family. They leave no doubt about the abuse she suffered. They said in years past, Ally never drank alcohol, but over time she started drinking more and more to a point where she kind of felt like she needed it to function. And along with alcohol in the home, Trisha also told me when she went over their house, she noticed something else that really stood out: small vials in their fridge. Now, we don't know exactly what was in those vials, but Ally told her family Andrew would sometimes give her different drugs at home, like ketamine or Ambient, according to Trisha. They're not really sure what else she was taking at this point or had experimented with. So this is everything they knew leading up to that incident in July of 2025. They just really didn't recognize the Ally they once knew, and they wanted to help her find herself again. But she just always gave Andrew the benefit of the doubt, and there was only so much they could do. So you can understand the comment her sister made now, right? If you don't leave him, I'm going to bring you home in a body bag. So what are your burial preferences? Now, after the 2025 charges for strangling her at the hotel, they thought that might be the final tipping point. And Trisha told me before he was sentenced for that in March of 2026, Ally almost left him. She actually had started filling out the divorce papers, but she didn't go through with it. In March 2026, Andrew took a plea deal, and as part of it, those hotel room assault charges were brought down to misdemeanors, so he was sentenced to probation. Trisha told me after the sentencing was actually the last time she and her family talked to Ally, because Ally told them all of their concern and intervening was causing legal issues for her and Andrew, and that she was choosing her marriage. So she cut them off. 3 months later, she was dead, which brings us to the case that's unfolding right now into her death. The Ralls County Sheriff's Office is investigating, and the captain told me they can't release more information right now because it is open and ongoing, but they did say that an autopsy had been ordered. However, Allie's family had a little more info for me. They said there's also a toxicology being done. They're waiting for both the autopsy and the toxicology results to come back because they tell me they don't actually know how Ally died. Remember, Andrew's story initially to Allie's dad was that she aspirated on something, possibly a sandwich near her bed. But remember that phone recording between Allie's little sister and Andrew? He says something on that call that sticks out, that they were just waiting on toxicology, which he guessed would probably show sleeping medicine. Now, it is possible he is privy to the same investigative info that her family is, or at least is picking up on the same. If you're new, subscribe. You don't want to miss this one. Today's case? Trust me, it gets dark. Let's get into it. Signals, because Allie's family tells me part of the investigation is whether or not this was an overdose of any kind. Not necessarily intentionally. They say she was not suicidal, but was it intentional on the part of someone else? Or was it accidental? If it was an accident, there's still the big question of who might have given her medication if some is found in her system. Did she take something herself, or was she administered drugs that played a part in her death? That is what Allie's family is waiting to find out and hopes there will be answers to once all of these results come back, literally any day now. In the meantime, Trisha said contact between Andrew and their family is pretty slim to non-existent. Trisha said that she and her dad don't want to talk to him. And Andrew actually acknowledges that in that recorded phone call with Allie's sister, Anne, who is really the only person who will talk to him. On that call, Andrew tells Anne that something happened the night before Ally died. He claims she was drunk and had allegedly been driving his truck with him in it, but rear-ended a semi and was taken into custody, then released. He kind of alludes that whatever happened there with her intoxication that night could have played a part in her death. Now, we don't have many details on what actually happened with this incident. We know per Allie's family that Andrew gave this information to the sheriff's office as part of the investigation. But because it is part of the active investigation, deputies won't confirm any more details. It's still at least publicly unclear what really went down in the 12 or so hours before she died. But two other people came forward with information after her death, two of her close friends. And this becomes really important. Remember, Ally had cut off communication with her family after Andrew's sentencing in March 2026, but she had not cut off communication with some of her friends. Tricia said that one of the friends had been talking with Ally about her leaving Andrew, and she was going back and forth about it. But the other friend, Tricia told me, ended up actually going to the sheriff's office with pictures she was sent from Ally that showed her legs and her hands scratched up after she said she was pushed down the stairs. Tricia told me that happened in June, just a couple weeks before Ally was found dead. Going back to that recorded call between Andrew and at this point in the investigation, now with everything they know, Allie's sister presses Andrew about the abuse, and it seems his goal is making peace. You beat the hell out of my sister, Andrew. You beat her black and blue. Why? Why couldn't you have just loved her enough not to beat her? I did love her. But you beat her, Andrew. That is not love. My husband would never lay a finger on me. I understand what you're saying, and there are definitely things that I regret. I confirm you, I'm not doing well, but I'm trying to do everything for her. I spend a day talking to her. I talk to every bird that flies by the window. So, I don't want this to be a nasty thing, and I want it to be something that when she looks down on us and it's going on, it's something that she's not embarrassed of. There was an attempt to interview Andrew for this story. He is not charged in Allie's death. When asked if he's being looked at as a person of interest, the sheriff's office said they couldn't comment. As with any story, it's important to get all sides, to ask him for his version of events, too, the abuse included. But after reaching out to him 9 different times on all these different platforms, Facebook, text message, email, and even asking him specific questions about the videos and details included here, he just never responded. Is it possible he's just been busy with work? It is possible because despite being convicted of assault this year, he is still a board-certified anesthesiologist. His certification is still valid. Though he was let go from Hannibal Regional, the hospital he was working at shortly after the July 2025 strangling incident, according to local media reports online, on LinkedIn, and other medical websites. It shows he very much still practices anesthesiology to this day. Now, recently there were social media rumors that he was being hired by another hospital in the state, Fitzgibbon Hospital. But this case has picked up so much steam in Missouri that on Fitzgibbon's Facebook page, they actually posted a status on July 3rd, 2026, so very recently, that even though his info was submitted to the hospital system, they're not moving forward with hiring him or considering him as a candidate. So, is he busy working somewhere? Maybe. Is he just ignoring outreach? Probably. Either way, there was a real attempt to get his side, too. This is a case where the public and community talking about it is actually making a difference. People are listening and they're paying attention. That includes the medical community, Allie's family, and the sheriff's office. Tricia has been crushed by her sister's death. And if it really is an overdose of any kind, proving how that overdose actually happened might be incredibly difficult. Allie's entire family is aware of that, but they are hopeful that a thorough investigation will be done to get answers that are out there, including whether or not Andrew violated his probation with the most recent allegations of abuse made by Allie's 2 friends post his charges and sentencing. We are waiting for the autopsy and toxicology results to come out. When the family gets those back, or there are developments in the case, updates will follow. In the meantime, if you have any information at all that could assist in the death investigation of Ally Mel, please call the Ralls County Sheriff's Office in Missouri at 573-985-5611. Before we go any further, let's check in on where things actually stand with the investigation as of right now, because this case is still active. As of this week, the Ralls County Sheriff's Office has not released any new public information. There's been no arrest, no charges filed against Andrew, and no official cause of death released. Investigators have said publicly that Andrew has not been named a suspect or a person of interest in Ally's death, at least not on the record. What we do know is that the coroner ordered a full autopsy the day after Ally was found, and toxicology testing is part of that process. Neither has been made public yet. That waiting period is worth understanding, because it's part of why. This case feels so frustratingly slow to the people who loved Ally. Toxicology and autopsy results are not quick. Depending on the jurisdiction and how backed up the lab is, a full autopsy report with toxicology can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months to finalize. Missouri medical examiner offices generally tell families to expect a written report only after all lab work, including toxicology, is complete, and that can stretch out for weeks after the physical autopsy itself is done. So when Ally's family says they're in limbo, waiting on results that could come back any day now, that's not just a phrase, it's the reality of how forensic pathology works. Everyone wants an answer immediately. The science doesn't move that fast. While we wait for those results, I want to take a step back and talk about two things that came up over and over again in Ally's story. Because if you or someone you know is living through something similar, understanding these patterns can genuinely save a life. The first is strangulation. Ally's 2025 hotel room arrest wasn't just an assault in the legal sense. It was specifically a strangulation case, and that distinction matters more than most people realize. Researchers who study intimate partner violence have identified non-fatal strangulation as one of the single strongest predictors of future lethal violence in an abusive relationship. A widely cited multi-city study led by nursing researcher Jacqueline Campbell, who also developed the danger assessment tool used by advocates nationwide, found that women who had been strangled by a partner even once faced a dramatically elevated risk of being killed by that same partner later on. Separate research published in the Journal of Emergency Medicine found that strangulation showed up in the histories of a large share of women who were later killed or nearly killed by an intimate partner, far more often than in relationships where no homicide occurred. Advocates describe it this way: unlike a black eye or a broken bone, strangulation often leaves little or no visible injury, which is part of why it gets minimized or waved off as just an assault. But medically, it's an attack on the body's ability to breathe and get blood to the brain, and the fact that a survivor lived through it once is not a guarantee they'll survive the next one. That's worth sitting with when you think about Andrew's plea deal. What started as 2 felony counts of second-degree domestic assault for strangling Ally in a hotel room got knocked down to misdemeanors, resulting in probation instead of prison time. To be clear, that's an extremely common outcome in the criminal justice system. Plea deals resolve the overwhelming majority of criminal cases, and prosecutors often accept reduced charges to secure a conviction without the cost, delay, and uncertainty of a trial, especially when a victim is reluctant to testify against a partner she's still with. But advocates who work in this space will tell you that when a strangulation charge gets pled down to a low-level misdemeanor, the person walking away with probation is still someone who has already cleared the single highest risk behavior on the list. Probation, in general, works like this. Once someone is sentenced to probation instead of jail time, they're released into the community under a set of court-ordered conditions. Things like reporting to a probation officer, avoiding new criminal activity, and sometimes specific restrictions tied to the original offense. If law enforcement or a prosecutor later believes that person has picked up new criminal allegations while on probation, they can ask a judge for a probation revocation hearing. That hearing isn't a full criminal trial. There's no jury, and the standard of proof is lower than beyond a reasonable doubt. It's usually a preponderance of the evidence, meaning a judge just has to find it's more likely than not that a violation happened. If a judge agrees a violation occurred, they can choose to reinstate probation with tighter conditions, or revoke it entirely and impose some or all of the original suspended sentence. That process is relevant here because of what Ally's family says happened just weeks before she died. Remember, one of her close friends reportedly went to the sheriff's office with photos Ally had sent showing scratches on her legs and hands after she said she'd been pushed down a set of stairs, allegedly in June, mere weeks before her death. If that allegation was formally reported to authorities while Andrew was still serving probation from the strangulation case, it could, in theory, have been grounds for a probation violation proceeding. Whether that ever happened, or whether it factors into the current death investigation, is something only the sheriff's office and prosecutors know right now, and they've said very little. The second pattern worth understanding is what advocates call the danger of leaving. Trisha's blunt comment to her sister in that parking garage, the body bag comment, might sound extreme, even darkly funny in a horrible way. But it echoes something that shows up consistently in domestic violence research. Multiple studies, including data cited by the U.S. Department of Justice, have found that a large majority of intimate partner homicide victims either left their abuser or were actively trying to leave in the year before they were killed. Some researchers put that figure as high as 3 out of every 4 domestic violence homicides happening after separation, not during the relationship itself. The reasoning experts give is fairly consistent. An abusive partner's violence is very often rooted in control, and the moment a victim tries to leave, or even signals that she might, can represent the biggest loss of control that partner has ever experienced. That's the exact moment researchers say the risk of serious violence spikes, and it can stay elevated for months or even years afterward. That context reframes something in Ally's story that might otherwise just sound like confusing, frustrating behavior. The fact that she started filling out divorce paperwork before Andrew's March 2026 sentencing, and then didn't go through with it, and then cut her family off entirely right after he was sentenced. From the outside, that can look like she chose him over the people who loved her. But advocates who work directly with survivors will tell you it is far more complicated than that. Attempting to leave, backing away from that attempt, and then pulling closer to the abusive partner. Sometimes, specifically to smooth things over or avoid consequences for him, is an extremely well-documented part of the cycle. It's not weakness, and it's not really a choice in any simple sense. It's frequently a survival response to a relationship where leaving has already been shown, through direct experience, to be dangerous. None of this tells us what actually happened to Ally in the early hours of June 23rd. It's entirely possible that toxicology and autopsy results come back and point to a tragic accident. Exactly what Andrew has said happened. It's also possible they raise more questions than they answer. Ally's family has been clear that they aren't accusing Andrew of murder. They're asking for a real investigation, and for the same medical and legal systems that let a strangulation charge become a misdemeanor to actually take a hard look this time. That's really what's driven so much public attention to this case in Missouri over the past few weeks. Not a rush to convict anyone in the court of public opinion, but frustration that a documented pattern of escalating violence was met again and again with reduced charges, quiet resignation from hospital jobs, and a system that seemed to keep giving second chances until there wasn't a next chance for Ally to have. We also don't know yet whether the hospital community's response, Fitzgibbon Hospital publicly confirming it isn't moving forward with hiring Andrew after his information had been submitted to their system, will end up being an isolated moment or the start of something bigger for his medical career. Physician licensing boards in most states can, and sometimes do, open their own review when a licensed doctor is convicted of a violent crime, separate from whatever happens in the criminal case. Whether the Missouri Board of Healing Arts is looking at Andrew's license at all right now hasn't been made public. And it's the kind of detail that, if it surfaces, would likely move just as slowly as everything else in this story has. So here's where things actually stand. An open death investigation, an autopsy and toxicology report that haven't been released, a documented history of strangulation, a plea deal that reduced it to a misdemeanor, and new allegations of violence reported to authorities just weeks before Ally died. A husband who says it was a tragic accident, and a family who isn't ready to accept that as the final answer until the science backs it up one way or the other. Before we close this one out, I want to go back to the beginning of Ally and Andrew's relationship for a second, because looking back at it now, there are a handful of moments that read very differently in hindsight than they probably did in the moment. The whirlwind pace is one of them. Ally met Andrew online in 2022, and within roughly a year, they were married, with an engagement that Trisha says seemingly came out of nowhere in between. Relationship counselors and domestic violence researchers frequently point to accelerated pacing, moving in together fast, getting engaged fast, marrying fast, as something worth paying attention to, not because it's automatically a red flag on its own, but because it can compress the window where a partner would normally have time to notice concerning behavior before making a long-term commitment. The lavish whirlwind romance that swept Ally off her feet, the concert on the first date, the trips, the feeling of finally being treated like a princess after a painful divorce, is a pattern advocates sometimes call love bombing. An intense, overwhelming show of affection and attention early on that can make a person feel deeply bonded to a new partner before they've really had the chance to see how that partner handles conflict, stress, or not getting their way. The argument at Anne's gender reveal is another one of those moments. In Isolation, one man getting into a heated argument with another family member at a party is not evidence of anything in particular. People have bad days, but Trisha's family flagged it at the time as a little concerning. And looking back, it lines up with something advocates describe as an early flash of the anger that a controlling partner has been managing or hiding, showing up outside the relationship before it ever shows up inside it. Then there's the isolation. Ally gradually stopped coming to family gatherings. She always had plans with Andrew, or couldn't make it. Her family didn't spend much time around him. On its own, a couple prioritizing time together over extended family isn't unusual, especially early in a relationship. But when it's paired with other warning signs, isolation from friends and family is one of the most consistently documented tactics in abusive relationships. Because a partner who has been cut off from their usual support system has fewer people around to notice injuries, fewer people to call, and fewer people to compare notes with about behavior that doesn't add up. The job changes fit into that same pattern. According to Trisha, Ally switched hospitals multiple times, reportedly because coworkers kept asking questions about bruising, and Andrew didn't want those questions asked. That's a specific and somewhat unusual detail, but it points to a broader dynamic advocates flag constantly. A partner controlling or interfering with someone's employment, whether by demanding they quit, sabotaging their ability to get to work, or in this case, apparently steering them away from workplaces where people were getting too observant. Employment is one of the biggest practical barriers to leaving an abusive relationship. So when a partner has influence over where, whether, or how long someone works, that's rarely incidental. None of these things on their own prove what happened to Ally. People argue at parties. Couples move fast. Career changes happen for 100 normal reasons. But looking at all of them together, alongside the documented strangulation, the videos, and the injuries is part of why so many people who've heard this story feel like the warning signs were there for years, in plain sight, even before anyone had proof. It's also worth talking about why this case has gotten as much traction as it has. Cases like Ally's don't usually get widespread attention right away. Most open death investigations stay local, covered by a hometown paper and maybe a regional news segment, and then fade from public view while the slow machinery of toxicology labs and prosecutors' offices grinds along quietly. What changed things here is the family speaking publicly, the existence of actual documented evidence, the photographs, the 911 adjacent video clips, the hotel police report, and a criminal conviction that already existed before Ally died. That combination is rare, and it's part of why outlets well beyond Missouri picked the story up within days of her death, and why a hospital felt public pressure to issue a statement about not hiring Andrew before he'd even been formally rejected as a job candidate through normal channels. There's a real conversation happening right now among true crime audiences and domestic violence advocates alike about whether that kind of public pressure helps or complicates active investigations. On one hand, public attention has, in other cases around the country, led directly to tips coming in, evidence being preserved, and prosecutors taking allegations more seriously than they might have otherwise. On the other hand, investigators generally ask the public to let the physical evidence speak first, specifically because autopsy and toxicology results can either confirm or completely undercut the working theory that's forming online in real time. If the toxicology results come back showing this was a tragic, unintentional overdose with no evidence of anyone else's involvement, that's going to be a very different story than if they raise questions about how sedating medication ended up in Ally's system in the first place. Right now, nobody outside the sheriff's office and the medical examiner actually knows which of those it's going to be, and it's worth sitting with that uncertainty rather than assuming we already know the ending. We'll be watching this one closely. The moment the autopsy or toxicology results become public, or if charges are filed, we'll bring you a full update. Until then, if you have any information that could help the investigation into Ally Mel's death, call the Ralls County Sheriff's Office in Missouri at 573-985-5611. And if anything in this story sounded familiar to you, the long sleeves in warm weather, the sudden distance from family, the sense that you're always one apology away from things going back to how they were, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You don't have to be in an emergency to call, and you don't have to have all the answers about what you want to do next. You just have to be ready to talk to someone.